Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, held on Monday, February 24th, 2020. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg, and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the Deputy Clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. I invite all to rise for the playing of O Canada. Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after the meeting as an archived video. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The Chair and/or the Clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. Thank you. This community succeeds and flourishes when its people make their contributions. Those making important contributions include councillors at this table who will listen to and deliberate on the matters on our proposed agenda. This council has been well supported by dedicated members of the staff of North Perth who provide service and reports to this council and to our community, and all those who have business with or interest in the work of this council. I appreciate all of your efforts and all of you being here and your service. I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. I advise that I have attendance regrets tonight from Councillor Johnston, who is away on business. Since our work requires concentration, procedures issued by Council requires all but councillors and specific media to turn off electronic communication devices at this time, and even then to respect focus use for our meeting. Use of cameras or audio devices during or to record this meeting, other than those officially provided for, is not permitted. And just so the councillors know, tonight there's some new control functions on my panel, so there might be some hiccups. We just never know. So bear with me as I push various buttons to make things happen. Let us move then to item 2.1 on our agenda. I'm just going to make a change in our screens here. And this pertains to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol at this time, I invite all councillors with pecuniary interest, including those who have declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session and to submit documentation to this effect in writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should a potential conflict arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. And let's have our declarations. Councillor Behrens, did you want to go first?
I would declare a conflict of interest on the corporate accounts 5.4.1 as well as 13.1, the confirmatory. And the reason is specifically the daycare accounts. I have grandchildren that attend the North Brisbane Right Child and Family Centre. Thank you,
Councillor Behrens. And Deputy Mayor, I assume you'd like to address this too?
Yes, through Mayor Kasenberg, I would also like to declare pecuniary interest on items 5.4.1, the accounts, as well 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw. Reason is my mother and father-in-law are tenants of Perth Meadows.
Thank you. Any other councillors have pecuniary interest declarations to make at this time? Seeing none, let's move on to item 2.2 on our agenda, pertaining to the adoption of the agenda for tonight's meeting. I have a motion here that reads as follows, but first I guess we're going to get the clerk on this one. Clerk Bearfelds, go ahead.
I'd like to remove from the agenda item 5.2.2. It's the tree management plan for Terrier subdivision.
Thank you. So, councillors, it's been proposed that we delete item 5.2.2. That is the amendment that's proposed. And so I have a resolution for our consideration that reads as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting as amended be approved. Can I invite a mover for that? Councillor Richardson, thank you. And Councillor Anstead. As our seconder, any discussion or debate? Let's have that vote. So that would be carried, given that Councillor Anstead has declared verbally here. Thank you. That brings us to item 3 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. These items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious, yet they require Council's approval. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 6 items on our consent agenda tonight, councillors, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Do any of you have a desire to extract any of these items for discussion or action? Councillor Behrens.
I believe we really only need to extract 3.3 from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. 3.2 and 3.6 are very similar, but I would request that council consider supporting the Perth County Federation.
Okay. I think this is potentially a significant discussion. So I think what we should do is proceed to adopt the consent agenda with the exception of 3.3, and then we can allow time for 3.3 immediately after. Any other items you'd like to extract from the consent agenda for discussion or action? Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to revise the proposed resolution to account for this at this point, if that's all right, Clerk Bearfelds. The resolution I have before me is that consent items 3.1 and 3.2 and 3.4 to 3.6 be received for information, and the minutes of the February 10th, 2020 regular council meeting be adopted. Can I invite a mover for that? Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Seiler, thank you. Any discussion or debate on that one, remembering that we've pulled 3.3 out? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. I think what I'll do at this point then is recognize Councillor Behrens. I assume that you'd like to speak to your thoughts on 3.3 at this point.
Well, I believe they're simply requesting all of the Perth County municipalities to be in support of the issues arising from, and it has become quite prevalent in the agricultural industry, of unwanted trespassers and activists on what I would call working farms. With the biosecurity and that, for many of the farms these days, some of the trespassers are going in and removing young animals from barns and things like that, and it's become a major issue. And simply, the Perth Federation of Agriculture is simply asking for our support as they lobby the government for changes.
Okay. Councillors, any of the others of you wish to offer comment on this matter? Councillor Duncan, let's start with you.
So I 100% agree in principle of the bill. After reading the bill and a bunch of the debate in the House, I think that it would behoove us to maybe put in our letter of support that we ask the government to really look at the powers of citizens arrest contained in the bill, because I think it has the potential to open a huge can of worms and maybe defeat some of what the bill proposes to do in the end.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Andreessen, I think I saw your hand waving earlier. Did you want to jump in here?
No, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor. I feel that the comments so far reflect my feelings, so thank you very much.
Okay, so do we have a proposed resolution in the in this? I don't think so, right? This is a letter to us suggesting action. Clerk Barefelds, did you want to suggest how we proceed?
Well, just that the resolution wasn't prepared until such time that council brings it forward. So tonight, I think before you would be that the council of the municipality of North Perth will support the Perth County Federation in regards to Bill 156. And then further into the correspondence, we can make note in regards to the comment that Mr. Councillor Duncan has made.
Okay, so we will send a letter. The action that is proposed in the resolution is that this council sends a letter endorsing the position of the Perth County Federation of Agriculture and express its concerns about the bill's powers around citizen arrest. Okay, everyone understand where we are with that? Okay, can I invite a mover for that? Councillor Barons, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Richardson, thank you. Any further discussion or debate on this one? All right, Danette, are you with us? All right, thank you. You were, of course, with us. The question was, were you keeping up with the speed of the proceedings? Thank you, and that's carried. Thank you very much. At this time, then, we'll move to agenda item 4. We don't have any public meetings planned for this evening, but we do have a delegation that is planned. So it's my pleasure to invite Corey Wilson, who has indicated he wishes to speak pertaining to a digital sign request to council. Mr. Wilson, welcome.
I want to thank you all for your time that I have with you today. Is that better? There we go. My name is Corey Wilson. I'm a local entrepreneur from Gowanstown. My wife and I moved here a little over 3 years ago and have started a family here in North Perth. We own a commercial building downtown Listowel on the corner of Inkerman Street and Wallace Avenue. That's 195 Wallace Avenue North. It consists of 4 apartments and currently 2 commercial spaces being used as a real estate office off Wallace Ave and a barber shop off Inkerman Street. I have a great amount of experience in the world of marketing and a number of years being a member of a BIA group. We own a building in the town of Acton where we grew up, and I was an active member on the BIA team. We worked hard to create programs and freshen up the downtown core, including facade improvement, small business networking events, community social events, and I personally helped with the high school's grade 10 entrepreneur course. I'm sharing this with you to give some background of I come from a small town and I care about small local business. I'm here tonight to talk about a digital LED fascia sign that I'd like to install on our building. The measurements of the sign are roughly 8 feet by 12 feet, well, exactly 8 feet by 12 feet, with roughly 6 inches in depth from the wall. The sign is less than 10 centimeters thick, but with the old masonry, we could be talking minor differences here and there. The building currently has an Optimus sign located on the wall. It's exactly 8 feet by 12 feet as well. The new sign will be exactly where it is, other than it'll be 6 inches, hung 6 inches higher, because the current sign is actually not 8 feet above the sidewalk. And we want to make it right. Now, I know it doesn't initially sound good taking down an Optimist sign. It is tired and in need of replacement. We are currently gathering bids on repainting the building and doing some fascia stonework to the building, and installing some new commercial windows as well. Our building is an anchor of the downtown area. It's a very well seen building, given its lines of sight. We would like to see it be a better example of what our downtown could be. The sign will help our family accomplish this goal. It'll also directly help our commercial tenants in the building and hopefully serve to other local small businesses. It will be installed by local contractors, maintained by local contractors, insured by local providers, financed by local banks, and ongoing advertisement and design will be done here in town in Listowel as well. I've been doing my research since I purchased the building last year. I've sourced one of the world's leading suppliers, and they are the best at what they do. They are LED to go from London. They have worked with many cities, townships, municipalities over the past 14 years to write bylaws and consult with certain writings, I'll say. Specifically the city of Toronto, Mexico City, and just recently the city of London, south of us here. In speaking with them, I've shared my common concern, which is the traffic distraction, and they've explained to me that they've manufactured over 3,000 units each month. They sell them worldwide. They place these signs in some of the busiest areas with the highest volumes of traffic. Example, New York Times, Mexico City. They shared with me that not one incident has occurred where the sign has been a direct distraction. This supplier is one of very few that I've spoken to that does not recommend video or animation of any kind. The human eye has the ability to see multiple moving things at a glance and receive multiple pieces of information in a short period of time. Ontario driving laws suggest that we should be looking in our mirrors every 3 seconds. Some of these signs are switching through ads at a rate of every 5 seconds. Currently in town, we have examples of this. There's a double-faced sign in front of our BA office in Listowel here. It's a great example. The sign rotates every 6 seconds, advertises local businesses. There's other examples of this in our community as well, but that's not my focus tonight. I'm sure the signs do what they intend. It gives local businesses that are not physically located in the BIA area a presence, and we simply want to do the same. I don't feel like less is more. We would like another option. I'm probably biased because I come from Gowanstown, the other side of town, and appealing to consumers traveling from this direction is what we want to do. I don't want to dwell on direct comparisons tonight. I want to talk about our sign. So here's what I can share with you with how ours will operate. I will be in full control of the content. It won't be a third party. It won't be a massive conglomerate marketing machine. There will be no animation. There will be no movies. Ads will rotate at a slower pace than the industry norm at every 10 seconds. Businesses operating in the North Perth area will be the only ones allowed to participate. I'll be reaching out to our friends at the Optimist Club, creating a new program with them, free of charge. I also want to extend some time on the board to the township. I'd like to propose a space every other month, which would be a great source for community outreach. The sign will be illuminated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The projection lumens will be within common guidelines with other township bylaws. LED to go provides engineered drawings, and the sign will be installed to specs. LED to go has extended an offer to actually help North Perth with similar consultation on their bylaws if desired. The sign will virtually abide by all the current fascia sign bylaws in place other than 2 factors. Item 2.0, the current bylaw states that a sign cannot be erected on the property and advertise a business or product that is not on the premise. I hope with our focus and our goal of the sign that can be waived. The other item that to be addressed is the fact that it'll roughly be a weight of 220 kilograms. And the current bylaw standards indicate that if anything over 115 kilograms needs further discussion and assistance. My supplier has hinted to me that old buildings, this can be a moving target, and he has a lot of experience with it, many different constructions, and we will obviously use engineers to assist us with the installation and provide stamp drawings as soon as possible. I hope I've provided some information for you guys tonight to help with your decisions. If there's any concerns, I hope that we can possibly address them. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I'm going to just make an adjustment here with the camera.
A little lower.
Well, I was attempting to. It doesn't quite do what I want. Let's jump to the source here. There we go. All right. Councillors, do you have questions for Mr. Wilson? Councillor Richardson, let me just get your microphone here.
Thank you. Through you, McKaysonberg. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. I don't really have an issue with the sign. It would obviously be something that would need to be put in an application and brought before the building department. Just one question I have about the sign itself. Will it be, I'm assuming I've heard of this company before. I'm gathering that during dusk and the evening hours that the sign will dim, because I do know that that will go down to like 25% because they're pretty bright.
Yes, absolutely. The entire sign is totally adjustable.
Automatically?
It can be programmed to do exactly what we're looking to achieve.
Okay.
So, yes, automatically.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else on council have questions for Mr. Wilson at this point? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. Thank you, Corey. It's an interesting project you have in mind with the sign. Just clarification, if you don't mind. You mentioned that every other month you were thinking about offering space on the sign for the town. Is that
For the town, yeah, to advertise local events. I mean, I want
Okay.
it to be a spot where the citizens look. So
Okay.
I want it to appeal to everyone, and certainly.
And just supplementary to that, so would there be a cost to the town? Like,
No.
No.
No, that's what I'd like to propose. Just to,
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Any further questions, councillors? Okay. Clerk, what's our usual procedure here? Are we to await direction from staff or ask staff to bring back its report or suggestions on this matter?
Certainly, we would like some direction from council. Corey's actually here tonight as a delegation because he's had several conversations with our CBO at Podwins due to the fact, as Mr. Wilson has alluded to, that doesn't necessarily comply with your bylaws. An exemption would be required. If the chief building official was to prepare a report for you tonight, it would definitely have to recommend denial based on the fact that it's not in compliance. We're asking council's consideration tonight of the presentation and provide us the staff as to what you'd like us to do next.
Okay. Why don't we take that up now, just so that I have some clarity from council. So, councillors, what say you? What would you like to do here? Councillor Duncan.
I'd be willing to move a motion to provide an exemption to the sign by law and have the proponent work with our chief building official to move things along.
Okay. So we have a motion then. We'll allow a motion onto the floor, moved by Councillor Duncan. Can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Seiler, thank you. Any further questions? I assume that part of this will need to bring back a specific, like further resolution pertaining to the bylaw, or no?
I would like to suggest, following this resolution, that it would be instructing the chief building official to bring back a report to you next Monday night on March the 2nd in regards to this recommendation, and that we can proceed then with the application as Mr. Wilson brings it forward.
Okay, so is that, That's sort of aligns with what you're thinking, Councillor
Having
Duncan?
not been prepared for this evening in a resolution, I think a report with council's endorsement would be the best way to go.
Okay. So Councillor Duncan is proposing that a report be generated for council that shows how this can be exempted. I think that's the way to look at this, right? And that's okay with you, Councillor Seiler? You're good with that still? Okay. Further questions or comments, debate at this point in time? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. I support that as well. Thank you through you, Mayor. Just a question about the existing content that's on the sign now. I do believe you said it's Optimist. I think it's Optimist or Rotary.
Yeah.
Has there been any consideration to possibly, obviously there's no objections from that group, because it's a fairly nice mural that is on there. To possibly digitally replicating that on the sign to have it as one of the cycles that just...
That was the goal, to reach out with them and have the same benefits of having the LED sign that flips. They can have a different message every other month.
Okay, just
And
as
so
long as
in conjunction with your message.
people who have procured the sign that they've been adequately consulted for that, but I think that would be prudent as well. But that's, I'm in support of it, so thank you.
Okay. Councillor Anstett.
Thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Just quickly, I'm in support as well, I should say that. But just, Corey, what was your timeline, do you think, for installation? Do you have an idea?
So they have a 14-week lead time in order to create the sign. But before that, I want to remove the Optimist and get it painted and then do some stone facade work and then have the sign there. I don't want it prevalent and looking around it.
Sure. Okay. No, thank you.
Okay. Further questions or comments, debate? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor, through you. I'm certainly in support of what we're talking about, what the proposal is. Thanks very much. And I presume the report that our chief beneficial will prepare will include documentation in terms of what this sign is going to look like, as well as, I mean, I think we know what certain digital signs look like, but I mean, obviously an 8-foot by 12-foot is going to be substantially different in size and so on. So I'm sure we'd like to see that and encourage and support you on that. Thanks.
Okay, so I assume that the staff will take note of a request to that end, all right? Further comments or discussion? All right, let me switch my source here. I think we're ready for the vote. Let's have that vote. And that is carried. I'm not sure why we're not seeing it on the screen, but seeing it locally. Interesting. Okay, so that is carried. Thank you. We're working out AV bugs tonight, so bear with us, everyone. All right, that brings us to agenda item number 5. First up is agenda item 5.1. Item 5.1.1 invites council to consider a land acquisition matter undertaken by the municipality and to enact a bylaw to support acquisition authorization for closure. I'll invite CAO Snell to address this item. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight's just to follow up from a previous council discussion on the acquisition of property known as 290 Elma Street West, which is directly behind the North Perth Public Library parking lot. The municipality has reached an agreement, purchase and sale with Terrier to purchase a property for $225,000. And at some point in the future, staff will bring forward a use or development plan of the property. Just asking council to consider passing of the bylaw to authorize the acquisition of the property. Thank you.
Okay, council, do you have any questions of Mr. Snell at this point? Okay, seeing none, we have a bylaw for our consideration and a resolution that I'll read those for our consideration. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth received the report entitled Purchase of 290 Elma Street dated February 24th, 2020 as information, and further that bylaw number 27-2020 being a bylaw of the Municipality of North Perth to authorize the acquisition of lands for property described as lots 2, 3, and 4, Plan 382, Elma Street, North Perth, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. That the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk. Can I invite a mover for that? Councillor Duncan, thank you. And seconded by Councillor Rothwell. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Seems that time we corrected our AV problems. Who knows? It's a bit of a mystery. All right, that brings us next to item 5.2. For item 5.2.1, we have an application to this council to exempt a property from park lot control. And it looks like our North Perth planner, Sean Yilmaz, is going to speak to this one. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. Lone Oak Properties Incorporated is seeking approval for an exemption from the part lot control provisions of the Planning Act. An exemption from part lot control will ultimately establish 2 individual lots of record. Both lots will have 1 dwelling unit of a semi-detached dwelling, which can be conveyed separately. The subject property is identified as Block 2 of Registered Plan 44M51 in the Alma Ward and consists of the semi-detached dwelling. Lot A, identified as Part 1, is 403.9 square meters or 4,300 square feet. And Lot B, which is made up of Part 2 and Part 3, is 682.8 square meters or 7,300 square feet, both of which meet the required lot area for individual lots. Each parcel will have frontage along McCourt Place and have individual service connections to municipal servicing. An easement, identified as Part 3, is provided to accommodate a municipal drain extension. The lands are within the residential 5-11 zone. Both units and the proposed lots meet the provisions and regulations of the North Perth zoning bylaw and the residential 5 zone. The removal of part lot control to establish lot lines between 2 units of a semi-detached dwelling is an accepted method of lot creation under the Planning Act. As such, it is staff's recommendation that council approve the application for the exemption of part lot control by Lone Oak Properties. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Yilmaz. Councillors, questions before we consider a resolution to this effect? Okay, seeing none. I have for our consideration a bylaw. That bylaw number 28-2020 being a bylaw to exempt from part lot control be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I invite a mover? Councillor Seiler, and seconded by Deputy Mayor Callum.